Yo, 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 what up? It's RJ Fantasy Football Talking. We back again, people, every week. Hey,
Yes,
you know what
sir.
it is. It's Rodney, it's Jay. What's going on, brother?
It is time, my man. It is
Let's go,
time. It is
man.
draft time. I'm excited. I actually
Mm-hmm.
had we talked about doing the dynasty draft a while back, but I had my first redraft today, and I'm gonna share a little bit of how it went. And I know we got some people watching the show regularly that were part of that draft. So I sent you the roster.
Yep.
Uh,
I
I,
like
I,
it.
I
I
stayed
like it.
true. If y'all watch the mock draft, I did the exact same thing I was gonna do. I said I would do for the mock draft, and I love it. I love the roster. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward. Hey, Nita, welcome to the show. She was one of the people in that draft, so I'm feeling good, and I'm ready to do some more. You and we got a lot of drafting to do this
Woo!
week. Are
This
you
weekend gonna
ready?
be. Of course, I'm ready. You know that. I'm ready, man. This weekend gonna be amazing. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
I got one on Saturday. We got one together on Saturday, one together on
Yeah.
Sunday. But I got three this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I got one on the second. I got another one after that. So it's about to ramp up real quick. So it's
Yeah.
about to get real. So definitely, I am there for it. I promise you that. Let's get it.
Hey, welcome Carla to the show. Welcome Orlando Lewis, my mom's to the show. Hey, that's we got what's that? Along with our producer, that's like a third of the women's fantasy football league tuned in at the start of the show. So welcome all of y'all. Y'all draft is coming up soon, next week, if I remember correctly.
Are you the commissioner
So
over there? Are
no,
you the
I'm not.
commissioner?
Hey, it's all women. I am a
Consultant.
figurehead, if you will,
Oh,
in that
okay.
league just because I set it up. But it's all women run. Our producer is the commissioner officially.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just up there
A
just so
consultant.
as a consultant. Are you set up? Can I come to
Yes,
you?
you can come over here.
All right, I'm coming over there. There's our lovely producer. She's the actual commissioner. I consult. I like that. That's
Yeah, that's why I said you need
That's a
to
good word
listen.
for it.
Consultant.
I'm a consultant over there, but they run this show and they do their thing. We actually I haven't revealed it yet, but we're gonna probably do some interactions between the men's league and the women's fantasy league this year. I got some stuff in store. I have to talk with our producer about see what we can do. Nita, what do you think was weird about the Uptown Comedy Draft? By the way, if you're in Atlanta, Uptown Comedy Club, get there. Best club in the city. Yeah, it was fast. In fact, it was so fast on that drive towards the end when I was trying to do too many things at once, prepping for this great show. I ended up on auto draft, and I got way more running backs than I needed. So I'm actually gonna have to make a couple of changes towards the end of that. Welcome, Louis Bracy, to the show. He's requesting cookies. I think that's aimed at our producer.
Uh, I look. No, that goes back to the J who's supposed to give me some information on that.
All right, so
So I'm throwing that back.
we'll come back to the Curly Brown Baker show. Do I have that up there? But yeah, we'll definitely make sure we'll be in the Tidewater area, and yes, we're gonna have some nice treats for the people. I can't do it on this screen, but yeah, we'll work that out. Work that out. But yeah, the draft was cool. Had a good time. Like I said, I shared some of mine. And since we have a few people from that league on, if you got questions about tell us how you think your draft went. If you have some questions about some things you maybe should have done differently, let us know there as well. Yes, I promise cookies, and they will be delivered. You have my word there.
Yeah, see how he said you promised
Yeah, I
him
did. I
cookies?
did.
There you go.
I'm guilty. We'll make it happen. Trust us. So we've been leading up to this point. We're going to be talking about drafts. We just did one. Like I said, we have a few coming up this weekend. And so, we're gonna give you all a little bit of insight on some drafting stuff since it's these last minute. Usually, this week and the next week is where most people do their drafts. So we did the mock draft for you all. We went through all our tier positions. This week we're gonna just put it all together and help you all out with your drafted stuff. So it should be a fun show. And of course, we also have some good news, NFL news. You wanna jump off there?
Well, let's go. They've got Jonathan Taylor is, I guess he's approved his trade request from the Colts.
Yeah.
That's a weird situation, man. To be honest with you, I think he's not hurt. I think he's not practicing just because
No,
he wants to be.
he's out rehabbing his foot.
I don't believe that. I think he doesn't want to touch the field until he get paid, and I'm not mad at him. He's in the last year of a rookie deal. He was a second round pick, if I'm not mistaken, so he gets 4 years. So he wants to get paid, and the owner has came out and said that we're not going to pay you. We're not going to pay you. We're not.
This owner also said we are not going to trade him now. We're not trading him in October.
Yeah.
He's going to be a cult, and now he's approved to get. I don't buy it. I don't. I'm not buying it even a little bit. I think collusion is a word we use a lot in fantasy football.
Yes.
This has, to me, collusion written all over it. I'm gonna go to a different situation entirely. But remember when Lamar Jackson was granted permission for a trade, and no one was interested, even though a lot of people needed to be interested. They say now that it's reportedly 6 teams that are interested in Jonathan Taylor. I'm waiting to see what happens because
I don't think they do it. Well, because the thing is, they want first round picks, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Christian McCaffrey got traded last year, and they got a bunch of seconds. They didn't get any first, and he wants to get paid at the same time.
Exactly. So
I don't. The running back market is not that great, to be honest with you, as far as running backs getting paid.
No.
But I feel like Jonathan Taylor he's been good, but he had one great year. And that's keeping it really.
He hasn't been an elite long enough to really have a history of being great. With him being hurt last year, kind of a lot of people fantasy-wise had big expectations for Jonathan Taylor, and his injuries pretty much stopped that from happening. But it's crazy to me because on one hand, all these owners are saying running backs, you're not worth this much. That's why we're not going to pay any of you. But at the same time, I want a first-round pick for my running back because it's so valuable. It's like, okay, you're valuable or you're not. You can't. It's basically just billionaires being billionaires, collusion. Just trying to get what they want. So
I know this is not fair, but he spent $20 million trying to get
Cinderwell.
Yeah, so you can pay Jonathan Taylor, but again, the running back market is not that great. I guess.
Yeah.
You got the highest running back is you're making about $10 million, maybe 12 at max.
Good. You're doing good if you're I think the deal Saquon eventually signed is around 11.
11,
and so that's top dollar. But it's $10 million is what's the original offer they were making to him. So
so I just think I don't know. Now if you asking me what teams, it's a few teams that he could go to.
Interested.
Buffalo could use him. It's one. Now the problem I think with Buffalo is Buffalo don't want to pay nobody. So Buffalo is probably not going to be the way to go.
I would be very shocked by that.
But Buffalo's a good fit for them.
It would be a great fit because that's one thing they haven't had.
Is a running back.
I am reluctant to think they still do it because he's no Lamar Jackson, but Josh Allen is one of those rushing quarterbacks, especially as far as touchdowns are concerned. That
he's the running back.
Yeah, he's a potentially a running back for you. So. In that case, I don't know whether Jonathan Taylor would be what people for fantasy. I hate the idea altogether. I don't.
I'm going to Buffalo.
Yeah, I don't like him going to Buffalo at all for that situation.
And I'm trying to think of another team that probably could use him.
I know one that could use him, but I also think it's a bad fit. And I've heard people talking about Tampa Bay. And
I don't like because of the quarterback situation, but I'm gonna tell you, if he goes to this team, they might as well just put the trophy again, their name on the trophy again, and that's Kansas City. I think if you put him with Kansas City, you don't like that?
Yo, I love it for the team, but goodness gracious, seriously?
I'm just saying,
seriously,
if you put Jonathan Taylor in that backfield, which it could possibly happen because they will pay Jonathan Taylor. That's the thing that Kansas City will do. They'll pay him because he's a really good running back. So they're paying
Yeah,
him. I like that.
and
But
they're trying to win. I think that Patrick Mahomes made it clear he's trying to win championships right
and
now.
that's scary.
So
That is so
they
scary if
put
that was
that
to happen.
together. I'm not going to be happy with
No, not
it.
even. Um, your mom don't see that happening because she's a Colts fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
I still think the most likely place is that he stays in Indianapolis because there's really nothing to be gained on the Colts end because I just don't see them getting the first round picks. Like you said, even with CMC,
Yeah, you
maybe
only
they
got
put together
seconds.
a couple of seconds that's sort of the equivalent of a first.
Yeah, that goes into a first over time.
Yeah,
So
so
I don't think
yeah.
so though. For me, I think it's crazy. I think you hold on to him. I think you pay him personally because you're gonna really need him with Richardson back there. Richardson needs that
Yeah,
help from running back.
they need that strong. No
Yeah,
offense to Mr. Dion, he's not Jonathan Taylor. I think they have to make this work for their team because, like you said, with him being that young, 13 games. I've mentioned several times, 13 games total experience in college. You need the strong running game that
of
Jonathan Taylor
course.
can give you. So don't mess around. Pay the man. Let's get it done.
Now
What do you
I
think
agree with
about
you.
another Florida team that was mentioned, Miami?
No, because man, that's the thing. Miami got too many.
They have
Even
a
though he would be
lot.
better, he'll be the better running back in that backfield. But they have too many running backs as it is.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't have good running backs, but they have solid running backs,
yeah.
and he would be the top running back there. But I don't see that happening. But if he does go, they are already talented as it is. I mean, geez, if they get him back there plus Waddle plus Hill, that's just crazy. I mean, that's nuts to be honest with you. But I don't know. I like you say, him being moved is probably not going to happen. Now, does he sit out games? Is the question.
Yeah.
So, and I do have one more bit of news.
Okay.
Joey Bosa hasn't, not Joey Bosa, but Nick Bosa
Nick.
hasn't signed yet.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal or not a big deal?
Big deal.
Okay.
Huge deal.
Okay.
The biggest of deals.
Now, when we talk all the time, now, do you think he deserves $36 million on the defensive side? I know your theory on money when it comes
Okay.
to quarterbacks. Yeah, I know your theory on that, but I'm just saying, if you're
all
keeping it,
all things, and we were talking before the show, not about this, but I said it in another conversation. If Daniel Jones can get $40 million, then yes, Nick Bosa should get 36 easily
okay,
because they apparently have money to just throw out for mediocre players. Nick Bosa's not
yeah,
mediocre, so
but yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah. So sure,
Okay,
he deserves it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we
as
know
far
your
as
take on that, but
yeah.
yeah, I just wanted to ask you that. But to me, I think he deserves it. Um, is he gonna get it? I don't know. I think they're gonna try to shortchange him. Hopefully they do pay him and he don't miss games, but I feel like that's probably gonna happen because the season is right around the corner, literally, and he hasn't signed yet, and he hasn't been to training camp. So I don't know. I think he doesn't sign. Not before week one anyway.
Yeah.
Now anything after that is possible. So I don't know. We'll see though.
I see Nita's talking about auto drafting in the league. Yeah, I mean it can go quickly. I don't remember
Yeah.
specifically when I think all those players were gone really early. In fact, I think Lamar Jackson was a keeper. The league that we drafted him is a keeper league, and I'm almost certain Lamar Jackson was kept. So you didn't see him go because the person who had him last year chose to keep him. So
And she mentioned Kelsey too, when somebody probably kept
yeah,
Kelsey
Kelsey might have been a
also.
keeper too. I can't remember. I can't recall.
Yeah.
But if he wasn't a keeper, he went fast in that first round because nobody's gonna let Kelsey slip too far.
Oh no.
So,
Oh no.
and so it's the way it goes. Hey, we all are fighting to get those exact same players, and so it's that battle. My mom actually sniped me a couple of times in this league that we're referring to happen. So it happens. You gotta Hey, we're gonna talk draft strategies, and so I know you all in the women's league have at least one more draft you're gonna do. So we'll help you out with that. But before we get to that kind of stuff, staying in NFL's news, this is the last week of the preseason.
Yeah.
So we've seen some interesting players. I think. Are you excited for any of the games that's coming up? These last do you think we see more from the starters in this last one? Or I know some teams already said certain guys just aren't playing this last game.
I mean, the way I feel about preseason nowadays is
Yeah.
the stars don't play because they fear injury to these guys.
Yeah.
So I don't expect to see anybody. I know Aaron Rodgers saying something about playing tomorrow, which I think is a mistake, to be honest with you. I don't think he should
Hey,
play.
who was it that said you can't play afraid? You got to get some of these guys these reps that you need in game time situations. I actually like Aaron because I complained last year that Aaron Rodgers didn't play enough in the
Yeah,
preseason because he needed to develop connection
with
with
the
his receivers. So I
receivers.
actually like him playing in this one.
I mean,
In fact, it might have even been Salah who said it. I can't remember. One of the coaches was saying you
this
got
is my only issue. If it's in New York on that turf, he would not be playing.
to. I
And
hadn't considered where they play. Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't play him just because that turf is good for a ACL injury all the time. I wouldn't put him out there into the regular season. That's just me. But maybe, like you said, he does need the reps with those players because he obviously he played with Lazar, but Garrett Wilson he hasn't played with much as far as going
Yeah.
into the season. So I think him playing this week is probably good. But a lot of guys not gonna play,
Yeah.
which they should play, but we know they're not. And you really can't put any value as far as drafting. You can't put any value into a lot of these preseason games unless you're going in a deeper league and you looking at certain players. I'm gonna tell you one guy that's looked great. Sam Howell. Sam Howell looked
That
really
game
good.
was something. Yeah,
Um,
that was one of the few preseason games that
yeah.
I was actually really into watching the Ravens and the Commanders.
That game
Play.
was good.
That game was really good.
Now
And
I
yeah,
don't.
I was not a Sam Howell believer.
I am now though.
I liked what I saw.
I'm not. See, but I don't know. See, the problem is, does it translate to the regular season? Which I
Yeah.
hope it does. Um, but I like him. I really. He showed me something.
Yeah.
He showed me something in that
That
game, and I was
offense
like,
is looking good. Hey, Eric Bieniemy might be able to
Woo.
get himself a actual coaching job if this offense looks as good as they did.
I'm a. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, Jahan Dotson is going
Yeah.
to have a really good year. So, and
Yeah.
I'm not putting too much out
I
there,
think
but
our
yeah,
producer would love that because she has Jahan Dotson on
Jahan,
her dynasty squad.
I sure
And
do.
yeah,
Jahan Dotson is a target monster. He's going to be a
he's
target
gonna be
monster for
something.
Sam. Oh my gosh! And I'm thinking like, what? I'm watching this and I'm like, man, Sam
Yeah.
Howell's good. He looks really good. I'm like,
Uh, I mean,
all
it's
right
like you
now.
said, it's preseason, so we have to
It's
see how
preseason,
it
but
translates. But he's
yeah,
one guy I really I was really impressed watching that game.
he
Uh,
kind of moved up the ladder for me just a
mm,
tad bit over a lot of other quarterbacks, especially for our leagues that we play in this weekend. Quarterbacks are a big thing, so he
mm,
moves up kind of not high, but a few over some of those third quarterbacks that we're gonna need to get in that draft. So yeah, I like Sam Howell. I think he's gonna be pretty good. Now, I hope it, like I said, I hope it translate. And I was kind of worried that he could lose the job over a
to
time
Jacoby
period,
Brissett, yeah.
but I don't think so. I think he keeps that job now for some reason. Um, so, and then I want to shout out Anthony Richardson, and I think Bryce Young hasn't
Oh,
looked great, but I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the O line. I think O line is trash. They need to kind of fix that quick. And CJ Stroud
and
has looked really steady. Like he looked good.
he's looked better. At the first one,
Yeah,
he was looking
he
so.
was
Then in the
shaky,
next,
but the
he
last
picked it up. He looked
last
better.
one,
He looked much better this next second game.
yeah, I think he's gonna be good. For Houston, I think obviously he's gonna have his ups and downs as a rookie, but still,
Yeah,
he's still gonna come out and play well. So for me, I think, but you don't for those unless you're in a dynasty league, you get rookies pretty early. But if you're playing in a redraft league, they're not going as early as those veteran quarterbacks. So no, I like those guys. So
going to tomorrow's preseason game. Uh, we've got the Falcons and the Steelers. And I tell you this, someone who's looked really good in the preseason, I talked about it last year. I'm going to talk a whole bunch about it. By the way, next week, everybody join us back here again. We're going to be doing our bold predictions. I talked a lot about Kenny Pickett last year, and Kenny Pickett is looking really good in the preseason. Mm-hmm. I know Carla's out there. I hope she's been watching and loving what she's seen from her Steelers.
Yeah, I love Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is high on my list this year, if I can get him. But Kenny Pickett is definitely a guy that I'm looking at, and he's making major strides that he did last year, because he started off shaky last year and got better towards the end. But I think him and Pickens is going to be great together. Deontay Johnson going to take a back seat to Pickens this year, though, in my opinion.
I don't think he takes a huge back seat. He's going to take – he's going to start to seed a little bit. But, hey, I'll tell you this. Deontay was a target monster, especially in the end zone last year. It didn't result in a lot of touchdowns.
Sure didn't.
but he was targeted a lot. And so you have to think in year 2 of this Kenny Pickett situation, if he's still going to get a similar number of targets. Like I said, Pickens is going to get more than his fair share. He's super talented. I think both of those wide receivers are going to look really good this year.
I mean, I think they are, but I just think Pickens is going to pass him. That's all.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
He's more of a natural talent than Deontay Johnson, in my opinion. I think he's just that good of a receiver.
I wouldn't argue with that either. I think you're right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get to it. We got some draft strategy, and just want to run through some real quick things. And by the way, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already done, and go tell a friend to come on in, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well, and join us. So we want to hit you up with a couple of things. Real quick, easy tips for you as you head into your draft. I'll get us started with the first thing, and this is one we've said many times on the show. You got to know your league settings. This one should be fairly obvious, but a lot of times people kind of take for granted. You look at some sort of rankings of players and say, okay, I got to go this guy, with that guy. But make sure you target this towards your league, because you and I, we play in a league that's a little bit different than your standard league, and that's the 2 we're drafting in this weekend, where it's really quarterback heavy. Yeah. And so you might just, if you're not paying attention to the league settings, we had a guy in one of these leagues come in and not draft a quarterback early because he wasn't paying enough attention to the league settings. And so if you don't do that, you're going to set yourself up for failure. Know what's going to score points. If it's passing and touch, because in a standard league, you're going to get 1 point for every 10 yards rushing. For passers, though, you get 1 point for every 25 yards. Yeah. And a lot of times the quarterback only gets 4 points for a touchdown, whereas the wide receivers and the running backs, everyone else gets 6 points for a touchdown. So know that going in, because that's going to really dictate the balance between your quarterbacks and your other skill positions players. And we were talking earlier about a league that has a lot of points for kickers. If you're standard,
just terrible league.
Kickers, whatever. Kickers don't get a lot of points traditionally, but if you're in a league that you're gonna do something a little bit progressive and interesting, you better make sure you know what your rules are for each one of your leagues. But I also add with that, know your league mates, because you gotta pick up on people's tendencies.
That's true. You gotta. Well, if it's a fresh league, you're not gonna learn it. It takes maybe 2 years to kind of, maybe a year or two to learn, because you gotta watch these guys, you gotta watch these girls to say, you know what, I kind of know where they're going. It's like okay, me and you in the same draft. Yeah. And it's been plenty of times you have slipped me a piece of paper and said,
yes, indeed, I'm gonna do it again this weekend.
I bet you are. It said, this is where you're going. And the crazy part about it is, it's one of those two guys that I'm gonna go. We draft so much together. It's like he knows the same direction I'm going, and we don't even got to talk about it. Even though we do talk about the drafts most of the time, but it could be late in the draft, and he'll be like, "Yeah, I think you're going here," and he'll be right. I'll go there without him even knowing, and I'll make the pick, and he'll be like, "I told you was going there." So, but
Yeah.
it's just you got to know your people. Like most leagues we've been in the leagues 5 or more years. We know these guys. We know where they're gonna draft. We know which players they're gonna draft because they know their tendencies. So at the end of the day, you just gotta when you're in that draft room. I know you trying to draft on your own and pay attention to your own draft, but pay attention what's going on in the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the room to see where they're going because you will see, oh, I see she like that person or he like that person because you know what? And you'll see a lot of people that pick a lot of players of their favorite team, which
You
is a
definitely
no-no.
want to know that. Yeah.
Yes, that is a no-no. Please do not pick. I
But
have a rule of
hold on.
thumb.
It depends on what team you like. Because
Yeah,
Well,
because
it's
I'm
two or
gonna be
more.
the one that's gonna break
Now
that rule,
for
and I don't
Kansas
care
City,
who knows
if you
it.
go
I don't
Mahomes and
care.
Kelsey, that's great.
yeah.
But you're not gonna go Mahomes, Kelsey, in the rookie receiver. So it's a
Right.
cutoff to some of this.
There's
So
a cutoff, but yeah, that's what it depends on who you like. Because here's a little pro tip: if you're playing against somebody and their team name is KC Curly, or they have a Patrick Mahomes emoji for their team,
yeah,
you
know.
might want to be.
Or if they're wearing
aware.
a Kansas City Chiefs shirt tonight, there you go.
Yeah, know your stuff. That might be somebody who's gonna be inclined to go a little bit early on Travis Kelsey or something like
Yeah.
that. Because
And
you know,
I don't
just
care
gotta-
if I
yeah.
pick him
You gotta-
number
you gotta
one
know the
because
room.
I've done
That's
it
all.
before and I will do it again.
yes, and I ain't even mad at you. Now I'm a Raiders fan, so I ain't picking nobody. But
I mean, that's what I'm saying. My rule of thumb is two. Like, I'm not picking no more than two. So for me, I ain't doing it. Like,
yeah,
and I might not even pick two this year, to be honest with you. So that's just my theory. But you gotta know the room, watch the room,
know the
and
settings.
also if you see somebody go pick up 2, 3 players from the same team, and you know they're a fan of that team, that leaves more options for you, honestly, because you got to think about bye weeks. You cannot pick up 4 players from the same team, and you know you got a bye week coming up. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, try to spread it apart a little bit, and also your quarterbacks make sure that you get them where they don't have the same bye week. I have done this plenty of times where.
Since you brought it, I was gonna ask you what you thought about bye weeks. Yeah.
Well, I don't. Me typically, if I like these quarterbacks, I'm gonna go get them. I always been. Do I care about bye weeks? Yes, but sometimes I don't because if I like both quarterbacks, I'm gonna go get them, and I'll just try to sacrifice something in the end and just try to make it work. But I mean, I try to pay attention to bye weeks, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
Going back to know your league settings, I think a lot of it depends on how your league is set up. Because if we play in one league where our bench only rolls 3 players deep, it's a 16-team league, 3 players on your bench. I pay a lot more attention to bye weeks in that league just because of the settings for it. But in other weeks, I'm like, hey, I lose a week. I'm cool with it. Now, I don't go too crazy and have like my whole roster with the same bye week, but know your settings, know how you can play around with it. I'm not a big bye week person, but depending on how my league is set up, I paid attention to it a little bit more than maybe some other leagues. Tonight we had a league. I think we had like 8 players on the bench. It was a deep bench, so I didn't look at bye weeks.
Like in barbershop, I think it's 7. It's 7 players, but we draft 20 players over there.
Yeah, exactly.
So
the size of your roster matters.
Yeah, the roster matters. So you can go a week, and plus, again, our rules are we don't have a waiver wire. You can pick up players at 2:00 in the morning if you want to.
Yeah.
And you can pick up players during the game. So we don't have that waiver wire where you got to wait on a Tuesday or Wednesday to pick players because you can just grab and go for what you know. It makes it a little fast paced, and you got to kind of keep your eye on the ball a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's fun. But some leagues where you can wait till Wednesday and pick up that player, and then you move down a certain line. You just got to pay attention to stuff like that. So bye weeks may matter, but for me, it depends. If I want to play, I'm gonna go up there and get them. So that's just me.
Let's hit a point number 2. Have a plan, but be prepared to pivot. I think my man Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yes.
And quite frankly, for a lot of times you walk in, hey, I'm pretty sure somebody can tell their story for tonight's draft. You walk in saying, oh, I'm going to get this player, and that player's just not there like you thought they were going to be, or maybe you went in thinking you were going to draft a player like Tank Bigsby, and then you found out that
Oh, we
Tank
doing
Bigsby
personal
got
stuff
taken
tonight.
away in the Dynasty League, and you didn't quite get the player you wanted to.
Yeah, so I got beef with somebody in the Dynasty League for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So because I know somebody was she just confessed it was her. Our producer was looking forward to drafting Tank Bigsby in the Dynasty League, and like literally the pick before her, someone went and grabbed it, and that's gonna happen. If you're fantasy football is not that complicated. We're
Oh
all
no.
trying to get the exact same player because we want the good players. Everybody wants the best players. Everybody wants Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You're just not gonna get them, and so if you don't get the players you want, you always have to be willing to pivot and know what's your plan B. So don't write down your plan, but just know it's gonna go up in flames at some point, and so you need to know what to do next.
So do you normally, like, I know, but do you normally go in with a plan or of certain players or lists? Like, cause I
Yeah,
ain't gonna lie.
this is the notebook right here. I've got all my players ranked in this notebook. I tell you, you can rank your players on certain apps, and you have the K. You can set up the edit your draft strategy the way you want. I always go old school with a notebook. I pull my notebook out as people are making their picks. I'm marking off so I know where I want to go next. But at the same time, I'm not just bound to it. My plan's not written in stone. It's written in ink, but it's not written in stone. And so I'm just always ready to, if I don't get this player, go here. Or if some people we mentioned earlier, you see stuff happening in the room and someone goes where a place you didn't think they'd go, you might have an opportunity there where you were planning on going to get this wide receiver maybe, but hey, this running back is just sitting there asking you to go grab him. So don't be bound to your plan. Look, see what's happening and go for it.
Well, I used to come in with a magazine.
Yes, you did.
I used to come in. I used to buy a magazine every year, and I used to mark off all the players I was getting. I don't really go in with a plan per se, but I go in honestly. I have a feel who I want to draft. I know who
Mm-hmm.
I like. I know who I don't like. I know who I don't want to draft. I know who I want to stay away from. I look at situations. I use this
Yeah.
thing called, so it's, do you draft the quarterback or the parts? So
Yes.
it's a strategy I use to
Mm-hmm.
where the quarterback may not be good, but the parts may be excellent. So you gotta use that strategy to say, okay, for instance, like just use Pittsburgh for instance. You
That's.
can draft the quarterback and you can draft the parts
Mm-hmm.
because the quarterback and the parts are really good. Now, if you go to Tampa Bay, for instance, you don't want to draft the quarterback, but you want to draft the parts, which is the receivers. So that's the strategy I'm going with. So I look at players, and I also look at. I was telling somebody the other day,
Mm-hmm.
um, you don't want to be top heavy. Your team, you don't want it to be top heavy. You want it to be balanced. And a
Yeah.
lot of players go top heavy early
Mm-hmm.
instead of going balanced. So I look at a lot of second receivers that could possibly do receiver one numbers at the same time
Mm-hmm.
on a team. So somebody like a T Higgins or Waddle, they're considered wide receiver twos on their team, but they give you wide receiver ones numbers
Yeah.
at the same time. So don't feel bad going into the draft if you get those guys and you can't get the big guys because they still putting up the same numbers as those big receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's how you look at it. I'd rather get a bunch of second receivers that I know maybe get kick return yards or punt return yards because if your league take that stuff or they count kick return yards, that stuff matters.
Yeah.
Those extra points matters, whether you believe it or not. So that's the way I remember when back in the day it was Darren Sproles. Now
Yes.
Darren
Sorry.
Sproles wasn't a top five running back. Oh, not even a top 10, to be honest with you. If you did rankings, Darren
Mm-hmm.
Sproles is
He was
probably
always not
always
even
in the
listed.
back,
Yeah.
20 to 25. But I tell you this, Darren Sproles got you about 25, 30 points a week because
Mm-hmm.
Darren Sproles was a kick returner, a punt returner, and he was a third
He
down
got
back.
touches.
He got
He
touches.
got touches.
Touches
They
matter.
worked ways to get him in the offense.
Exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I say that to say this: if you can find somebody in that offense, Gibson from Washington, who could be the third down back, kick returner, punt returner, he's touching the ball so much, he's gonna put up more numbers than your average starting running back. So at the end of the day, that's one of my plans. Now I don't go in and plan to say, you know what, I need this guy on my team and I need this guy. No, I go in and say, you can. I look at the board, I see where people going, because there's been times where people have slipped.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry slipped last year to me twice. People looked over. I went up and got Derrick Henry. So things may change in that nature, but at the end of the day, it's just you got to go in with a game. Sometimes you go in with a game plan. Sometimes you just do what you do and just go draft.
You got to wing it.
Doing what I do has gotten me a bunch of championships over time. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing at the end of the day.
If you've done it enough, you get to the point where you can do that. To go to your old grandmama that just made a pie without even pulling out a recipe book or nothing. Flour and sugar and butter and more butter and just threw it together, and deliciousness happened because you had that familiarity. You start to develop that muscle memory where you can just do what you do. And so for you first and second year fantasy football players, don't do that. Get yourself a plan. But as you get more comfortable with it, or if you're a crazy person who drafts in like 10 different leagues every year, by the time you get to that 8th draft, you pretty much know where you're going. You don't got to pull out the notebook as much. So, yeah. Yo, Carla said she's trying to get all that Steelers info. So, hey, watch us next week. You're gonna love me. I don't know if you're gonna love Rodney. But I got a lot of stuff to say about the Steelers. Bold predictions coming up next week. I'm actually, I've been waiting for next week all this week. I want to do this show too because I like this kind of information. But I'm really excited for our bold predictions next week.
Yeah. And also, I know a lot of people do drafts online.
Yeah.
But for the women's league, I don't know how far they are apart as far as distance and travel. But I think y'all should try to do a draft in person one time. I think y'all would love it because it's just a different atmosphere. Because at the end of the day, it's like a war room in a sense. Like everybody's in a corner.
I don't know if you want to put a bunch of women in one room. I don't, men, y'all, I've been in a room with all you guys. Y'all have different personalities. I don't know if you want to put 8 to 12 women in one room.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Nah, bro. You're thinking like a guy. You got to think like a woman. I'm telling you, I've been a woman for 40 some odd years. I don't know if that would be the smartest idea. 5 or 6? Yes. 10 to 12? I don't think so.
So what's
not when they all trying to go for the same players and people are super competitive. I don't know if that's a good idea.
Well, the other thing, much like the men's league, people are in different states, so it's just hard to work out. But it can be so. I do a few drafts on, I do a few in person. You can have some fun with it either way. But there's something we used to do the men's league in person all the time when we first got it started. So it can have some fun times with the right people.
So you sit in the draft with us every year.
I do.
So do you notice because obviously you notice that once it really gets going, nobody talks to each other. Like we literally just be quiet and we just be in our own little world. Is that something you notice, or could that work for women, or you think it won't?
No, because we naturally talk. So we're gonna talk to each other constantly. We will not draft like y'all at all. I can put money on it.
Yeah, I can't see them being as quiet as we are.
No, because you all don't say like a word. You could hear a pin drop, a dime drop. You could hear horses riding in the distance or whatever you want to say, because you all get super quiet. I do not believe women would get that quiet in a room, because somebody's going to say something. It's going to be a joke. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be whatever. And it would be all in good fun and everybody's joking. It wouldn't be, go to blows. But I just don't think it's going to be as quiet as you're thinking.
I think it would be better than the men's draft.
Yeah, we don't say much at all. Like
y'all don't say much. Y'all don't say anything. Much. Y'all don't say words. Y'all look at each other. You and Jasper talk to each other through secret notes, but y'all don't talk. Say much. Seriously? No, y'all don't talk.
Yeah.
I've been sitting with y'all for years. Y'all don't talk.
Yes, yeah.
Y'all don't talk.
I don't know, man. I feel like y'all could do it. I feel like it'll work for y'all because y'all would the competitive nature would be there. We all competitive, but we just like you're right. Me and Jay pass notes, or we'll look at certain people, or we'll look at certain guys and be like, if somebody make a bad pick, we'll frown our face like, what was that? But nobody goes and say, man, that's a horrible pick. Nobody's doing that, but we do. It gets kind of crazy.
I will say
no,
it's horrible.
You know what? No, wait, hold on, pause. You know what y'all do? You all wait till it's done and everybody clears the room, and that's when y'all talk about everybody. Yes. That's when it happens. Y'all need to be at the after draft talk because that's when it really goes down. That's how this whole
RJ fantasy football talk got started.
You're right. You are absolutely right because I would sit and watch y'all after hours of draft in silence. Then the two of you would come together and talk about every last single person in their draft, pointing down every single line and looking and talking. That's when it happens.
Accurate. No lies told.
That's definitely how RJ started.
Zero lies told, right there.
That is the definite truth. We would sit, and we probably would sit and talk about that longer.
I know, because I've been there. Yes, you do. You all will discuss that for hours if you could.
She not lying. It's a real war room, and it's cool because literally guys like they'll be talking like especially the first round because quarterback.
Because it's easy then. Yeah,
it's easy then. But that third round come, boy,
you gotta get to work.
Oh my gosh, you can hear a pin drop, and she's not lying. You can hear if somebody pick up they drink something, then it's crazy because you hear the ice in the drink starting to move. I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
it's
dang.
Crazy.
Nita said they throw men out of their leagues. We ain't been to blows ahead to suspend anybody yet.
No,
but y'all not. But see, y'all don't have those kind of personalities, though.
Yeah, but that's Hotlanta, so I'm gonna let y'all do y'all on that one. So yeah, we're civilized.
Yeah, we're very civilized. Jeez.
Yeah. Let's hit this next joint. And this is homework. See if you guys remember in the audience. Tell me what ADP and ECR are. RB, whatever. tell me if you remember those two terms. We have ADP, which is our average draft position, and we have ECR, which is the expert consensus rankings. And you got to use them wisely. It kind of goes to the first point of the second point actually of having a plan. You have these rankings. My man with his magazines he used to always come in with. But
I used to pay $30 for those magazines, man. That was crazy.
Cindy and I were actually in a bookstore, I think last weekend, and we saw some of these fantasy books. It was like, remember when Rodney used to always come with those books?
Yeah, I used to come with the magazines.
We thought about you because we saw that joke. Was like, that was my man with those jokes all the time. I was like, I get all my information for free because I'm cheap.
I come with a laptop now, boy. I try to tell you.
Exactly.
Oh,
but
nah.
All those things are good. Average draft position is good, and expert consensus ranking is also good. But the truth is, it's an average. It may not relate to your league at all. So if you got that stuff, it's great. But you don't just like your plan. Be ready to pivot. Don't just go off thinking, oh, I'm going to get this, and this, because you're not going to always get that. And sometimes, like we said earlier, there's going to be some opportunities for players that pop up that you want to take advantage of that may not match your average draft position.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, like we talked before, you have too many players on the same team. So it's like, oh, I already got George Pickens. Do I really want Deontay Johnson also, even though he's the next one in this ranking list? Or do I pivot to some other player that can give me similar numbers, but I don't have to worry about them competing with each other every week because they're on the same team?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That's fine to use that strategy. But for me, it's more like, and this, please don't take this because this is more what I do, and because I've been doing it for a long time. But I do, because a lot of these draft picks are based on personal picks.
Yeah.
And it's more about, okay, your personal preference of a player. And my thing is this, I use the ADPs just to see because you may use ADPs for later rounds to see what guys are available. But for the first 6 to 8 rounds, you really don't need that. To
You
be
should
honest with
not be going too much. I agree with you to that
yeah,
stuff,
so you really don't need that. So you really will probably use it more for later rounds, and then you're going more of those earlier rounds on a preference pick. That is more
Mm-hmm.
of a preference or who you like the most between a certain player and a certain player, and then you look at okay, this player got this and this player got that. Well, I think I want this player because of that. It's certain things. I know guys, certain people in our league, they look at certain players and they say, well, they got these receivers, but I don't like the O line. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
it's always something. So it's more of a preference pick. It's not a pick to where you know what this guy's ADP ranked number 10, so I'm gonna go him. And honestly, in our leagues, I know a bunch of guys that literally draft off of an ADP book, which is crazy to me. It's no way you're doing that in those leagues. So in a 2 quarterback league that get the most points, ADPs don't work for us.
Yeah.
Because they have a Justin Fields.
You are going to have a terrible team. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have Justin Fields as a top 5 quarterback, but Justin Fields not a top 5 quarterback in our league.
In that league.
Yeah, in that league. So
again, going back to know the settings for your league, that ADP, like you said, is maybe completely irrelevant to what you're doing.
Yep, it don't work.
We got the concept that that's what Sheeran be. And there's nothing wrong with the magazines and the notebooks and everything. Hey, I already showed you my notebook. I ain't gonna show you what's inside it.
You can bring a laptop and go put in fantasy football.
You got a laptop. I got a notebook. I got sheets I printed out. I got all kind of stuff. So
yeah. So I mean, you can go. I bring my laptop and I just pull up. Normally, I pull up our stuff that we put together, and then I also go to whatever Yahoo site I can go to and pull it up, and it's just you put it in the fantasy football, and it pops up. It's right up there. I find a seat in the draft with a plug where I can bring my computer and I plug it up and go from there. So
there it is.
That's all you can do. I mean, just know you can use it, but use it late. In my opinion, you don't have to use it early because a lot of those big guys gonna be available for you early. You just gotta know which one you want and what's gonna be available. Now it's the guys you don't know in the end that you may need it for.
Yeah, I would say like you said, if you've done your homework, you've looked at enough ADPs and ECRs before you got to the draft that this stuff should be off the top of your head. At least in the earlier rounds, you should know who at least the top 5 to 10 players are at each position without even having to go look at your notebook and say, oh, I know that T. Higgins is still out there. Let me go grab him because I know T. Higgins is good. You've done this stuff before you got to the draft. You didn't wait till you were at the draft and then you pulling out your notebook because it's not going to be useful for you by that point. So I don't even know what that means right there. PH Baltimore or something. That's a lot of letters and numbers. Okay. I'm gonna go to our next point. And we kind of alluded to this before. Watch your draft board. Make sure you know what's going on with your draft because hey, here's something that used to happen a lot when we would get together. We're in round 7, and then somebody would come up and say, "Hey, is Tom Brady still available?"
Oh yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
Like seriously? Yeah. Tom Brady's still out there. Patrick Mahomes, 10th round. Sure, go ahead. He's still there. So make sure you know what's going. Don't be that person at your draft because, quite frankly, we all hate you from the bottom of our hearts. If you're still looking for people,
they'll turn around and say, "Man, what are you doing, man? Like, are you paying attention?" Somebody walked in the draft last year.
Yeah,
he walked in late, and he was like, "Jonathan Taylor gone already?" Yeah, Jonathan Taylor's gone already. He been gone already.
He been gone.
Like, what are you talking about? Like
he was the number 1 pick in most places. What?
Yo, I was like, come on, man. These guys. But you have guys like that walk in and just they be so unprepared.
Yeah,
that,
you can tell who's done their homework.
Tell you I ain't been preparing for this. Like, come on now.
Like,
Gee.
could you at least though stay awake during the draft and know what's been going on for this one? But not just so you don't embarrass yourself, but like we said before, see what your players are doing, because a lot of times you'll see people make runs on positions. Like you get to like the 5th round, Travis Kelce, of course, is already off the board. Mark Andrews off the board. Then you just see a whole bunch of tight ends go one after the one after the one, and so there you have to make a very a tough decision. Do you join in on this run and also go get your tight end, or here's something you can do, a little bit of strategy, be the contrarian and say, okay, everybody's going there to get this position because it's going off. I can look way deeper in my ADP and say I grabbed my tight end way later, but they're overlooking a lot of really talented wide receivers or maybe some running backs that are being left on the table. So look at what people are doing, and then you make your judgments accordingly.
Well, for me, you'll have a run of running backs, which is not a. If you go in 1 through 10, a lot of those are your top running backs, and it kind of drops off at probably 12, 11, 12. Then you got to start saying, okay, I'm gonna make that run. So you got to make a run at running backs. You got to get your running back because it's not that many. Now receivers, you can kind of wait because there's a lot of good receivers. But if you see a run on running backs, you better join that run, just like tight ends, because it's a big tight end drop off after a certain number. So I see the run, but sometimes you don't engage in a run. Yeah. Also, you say, you know what, I'm gonna let them have that run. I'm gonna still go. I'm gonna stick to what I'm doing. So you just gotta have a certain game plan walking in there. So just watch the board. Now, if you see them run, it's cool. If you don't want to join it, don't do it. I mean, it's all about what you want to do. It's your draft. Do what you want to do.
By the time you get into the end of that run, you're probably not talking about a really good player anyway. So
exactly.
Do your thing. I see Nita talking about Cam Newton and Ben Roethlisberger sitting there. True story. We've been in drafts where people have drafted guys who were already retired, and we're looking like, did he just say such and such? Is like, yo, this person has not done. Just don't be that guy. Don't embarrass yourself and your whole family because you won't paying attention. So do better. do
better.
Yo, we did the watch the board, and this is one that rings true all the time. We're experts. There's a lot of experts. There's a lot of people you ask for advice. You should get advice from places you can. But at the end of the day, trust yourself because it's your team. You're going to be the one stuck with it. You can't go out later and say, oh, I lost because Matthew Berry gave me bad advice. Exactly. Matthew Berry isn't the one running your team. So you have to be happy with the picks that you make. And it's supposed to be fun. It's fantasy. Get the players you like. And if people laugh at you and they call you names because you picked up one player when they thought you really shouldn't, tell them, kick rocks. Because, trust your own judgment. Because I guarantee you, these experts will lose in a lot of fantasy football is skill, but a lot of fantasy football is just dumb luck. And so people making expert decisions are wrong a whole lot of times. And so you better trust yourself because end of the day, you're the one you got to answer to. So have fun with it.
I mean, I do it all the time. I go in drafts and I be like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to trust my judgment and I'm going to go there. It backfires. It backfired on me last year. A whole lot last year. But that was my plan going in and I did it and it didn't work for me. Now, would I do it again all over again? I probably would because that's what I wanted to do. So it's just you got to, again, just go in with your own ideas. Yeah. Because the next person may come in with their own ideas. It's just you gotta have your own stuff. Just know you're fighting against each other in that room. Just try to win, plain and simple. So you gotta trust yourself to go in there and do what you gotta do. And don't. Yes, you can listen to us all day long. Now, at the end of the day, you still gotta go in there and do it yourself. Mm-hmm. And still, because we can't draft for you. We can tell you where to go. We can give you advice, but you still gotta go in there and make the picks. And draft on the fly because things gonna change when you're in that room. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's gonna get intense. It's gonna get, oh man, that person took my player. Well, you got to think about the next one. Let's go. Trust yourself and say you can find another one.
Yeah. Yo, we are at the last one, and this is really the most important one. Whether you had a good draft or a bad draft, just know the draft is only the beginning.
Oh
It's
yes.
really about what you do during the season, that week to week management of your team, because you can go in and think you won the draft, and then, like, before the season even gets started, your quarterback got hurt,
Yep.
or in my case, retired.
Okay.
Things happen.
Yes, you have retired,
Yeah, that
or
year.
So
your whole
that
team
one
goes on
year,
a bye week,
so you,
or
you
gets
gotta
COVID.
you
It was
gotta just know that whatever go takes place, you're gonna have to really make sure you're doing a good job of managing your team throughout the season, because that draft is only a small part. That's one day. You've got 17 weeks ahead of you of managing your fantasy football team if you're gonna be successful.
And another thing, when you draft and they tell you that you had an A+,
Oh,
don't run.
yes,
Please, I tell
please.
you, please do not run and say, you know what, I got the best team, because I have drafted before and I have gotten a C, I have gotten a D, and I have won the league. It's all about how you pick up players, how you manage that team throughout the season. Because one thing you're gonna believe is people don't pay attention during the season, and you better be the one paying attention. So you just gotta manage that team
Mm-hmm.
all the way to the end. And and I have to, my saying is this: you don't make changes if you don't have to. Now, if you have to make changes,
Yeah.
you do it. But if you
Don't
winning,
overmanage. Yeah.
please no, don't overthink.
No,
And
don't
that's part of
overthink. I like that.
people go into the draft and they overthink what they need to do. Go in there and just draft. Go in there like during the season, don't overthink, because a player might have a week or two where he ain't doing too well, and you gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna put him on the bench because he just ain't been good. Stop overthinking the room, because players have bad weeks, especially
Yeah.
quarterbacks. It happens. So you gotta let them go through the problems for a week or two. I give you a prime example. Joe
Mm-hmm.
Burrow. Joe Burrow is a slow starting quarterback most seasons. But Joe Burrow at the end of the season, around week 8, week 9, he gets hot. He gets really hot. He
Mm-hmm.
stays on fire. So you just have to ride the wave. Don't make changes. And also, if somebody try to trade with you because they see you doing well, tell them no.
You know,
Please.
right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
No matter what they try to send you, tell them no.
Don't that it, some people make their league off of getting you for your
Yes.
players. So be cautious when you trade with certain people in your league, because we all have that person in that league who just sits back. Some people draft with the intention of doing trades, and I ain't
Yep.
gonna lie to you, I do it sometimes myself. I pick up a player with the intention of drafting them, but be mindful of what do you really need to do, and don't give away a good player ahead of time. So, or
Yeah.
a player that you think is bad, if they can bounce back. So sometimes it's that those buy low moments where you give up on a guy too early. But also don't be afraid to shift when necessary, because sometimes you hold on to a player too long. So you got to make these little moves between the season, and best, hey, make the most of it. Like I said, have fun with it.
Definitely have fun. So
But those are our last bit, our tidbits before your draft. So hopefully that stuff is helpful for you. And of course, if you have some questions and stuff, please do let us know in the comment sections. And if you haven't already hit that like button or that subscribe button, make sure you
please
do
do.
that too. But we don't have to leave quite yet unless you got to go.
Mm-mm.
Want
Mm.
to play a little game?
Let's play a little game.
All right.
So if y'all remember, we started a game last year called Pick One. So we're gonna play a little bit of Pick One tonight. Um,
Draft edition.
Draft edition. So I'm gonna start because I want to start.
All right.
Um, and I'm gonna start with a couple quarterbacks first. So, Gino or Prescott.
I think last week we had a mock draft and Gino came up. I am a big Geno guy this year. Geno
Mm-hmm.
had a surprisingly phenomenal year. So if you got Geno late last year, it paid dividends for you. I think Geno's
Mm-hmm.
going to have a blow up year because he has three dynamite wide receivers. So between it's a tough one because Dak Prescott also has several really good wide receivers, and he says he's not going to throw a bunch of interceptions this year. uh,
Okay. All right.
but if you ask me, I'm gonna go Geno Smith above above Dak Prescott. But I think it's close. Who are you going with?
Hmm. Man, I'm gonna go. I think Prescott got a higher ceiling than Geno. Um, it's tough. I would say Prescott by a little bit, but I love Geno receivers. His receivers are
Yeah,
awesome.
his receivers are gonna be
Awesome.
crazy good.
Yeah. But slightly. Because I think CeeDee
Yeah,
Lamb is
it's
probably
close.
better. CeeDee Lamb is probably if you had to put him on that team, he would be the best receiver on that team.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think CeeDee Lamb just makes Dak a little bit better. Um, and I like Tony Pollard. I like the weapon
Yeah,
as far as Tony
so
Pollard.
Tony Pollard as a receiver,
Yeah,
besides running back, is gonna help Dak. I think a whole lot this year. So
yeah. So I think I'm gonna go Dak just a little bit, but
it's
I think
close.
Geno's not far though, not even.
We got a vote from the audience also for Geno Smith. Yes, please do play along with us and let us know. I got one for you. Since you said quarterbacks, I'm gonna go with quarterbacks. I'm gonna go with two rookie quarterbacks.
Okay.
If you're drafting this for a dynasty league, they both looked good. Are you picking Aiden O'Connell or Dorian Thompson Robinson from Cleveland?
Aiden O'Connell. And the reason I say that is because Aiden O'Connell is probably going to play before DTR.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
think
think
so.
Aiden O'Connell can play this year, and I think he's going to play sooner than later.
It's
And
Jimmy
not to,
Garoppolo. So,
yeah, not to wish injury on nobody, but
but he
Jimmy
has a
has
history.
a history of being hurt, and he has a history of playing bad.
Hmm.
So I don't. And you know what's funny? I don't think Jimmy's going to play. Now that I think about it, and I sit back
Uh huh.
and I'm watching the situation go down in San Francisco. I really think Jimmy's going to have a good year, and that's
Oh,
coming from me.
I
That is
am shocked. I'm not even
that
gonna lie
is
to you.
that,
I was ready for you to say a lot of things. That was not one of them.
and I say that because I think he has more freedom to
Mm,
do more in the offense.
yeah.
I think he knows that offense really well, and I think he's going to be. He wasn't able to be himself. He wasn't be able to audible out of the offense. I think Jimmy's gonna have a good year, but I think Jimmy's gonna get hurt. That's why Aiden O'Connor is
Because
gonna
it's
come
Jimmy.
in.
Yeah.
So, and it may not be for bad play because Jimmy finds a way to get hurt. He just finds a way to get out of bed to get hurt. So, I think at
Is
the
it
end of
just
the day,
one or two full seasons he's played since he's been in
one,
the
and
one?
that
Yeah,
was
I thought it was.
well, not even
Yeah,
2019 because he missed two
yeah,
games in 2019. So I don't. He never played a full 16 game
yeah,
season. He's missed at least two games
yeah.
minimum. Yeah,
But I'm gonna count two as close enough. but
yeah. I mean,
but
he
yeah,
can.
he does not play
Yeah, he
the
has a history of
longevity
being
of the
hurt,
season, so he
basically.
does have that tendency.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'd go AOC above DTR just for the sake of I love what I've seen from
yeah,
Dorian coming out of UCLA, but I don't. I think they gave Deshaun Watson
Watson.
230 million reasons
Yeah,
to stay the starter unless he
yeah,
gets hurt, and I think that's
yeah,
the only. I think his only path is Deshaun Watson getting hurt,
yeah.
which can happen, but I don't think Aiden O'Connell might just become the starter, even if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't get hurt, just because he's really good.
I would say this though: Aiden O'Connor could be the starter next year
Yeah,
because
next
y'all can
year.
get out of. Jimmy's only really on a 2 year contract, so you
Hmm.
can get out of the contract after this year. If Aiden O'Connor comes in, that's why I was listening to somebody the other day. Aiden O'Connor, if he gets in the game, Jimmy might not see the field no more,
Yeah, yeah,
which is actually could happen.
it could
It
really happen.
because he's after this year, I don't think he's guaranteed any money. So that's also part of the problem too. So I think Aiden O'Connell going into next year could be the starter over because DTR is not going to see the
Yeah,
field for
he's not gonna
years.
see. Yeah,
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that.
I
So
think he's a backup until further notice.
of course, and until Deshaun Watson just don't pan out no more,
Yeah.
or he decide to go play somewhere else or whatever. But I don't think DTR is probably going to ride on the bench for some years.
But I might be interested in the right league if you have a taxi squad where you can stash him.
That's true.
He's looked pretty good. He's looked the part. This preseason's hard to say. I'm looking at this. Need to talk about. She has Justin Fields, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, and Deshaun Watson, and I'm agreeing. Why so many quarterbacks? That in a 2 quarterback league, yeah. In a 1 quarterback league, that's way too many. You shortchange yourself at some position in order to get that many.
I mean, she got trade bait.
You got trade bait, so yeah. Maybe try to talk to somebody who didn't get a good amount of quarterbacks and see what you can do with that. Hey, welcome to the show, Catherine Bracey. Better late than never. So glad you could join us. Hey, go back and watch this episode because we've been going through a lot of advice for drafting, which I know you have a draft coming up next week, and we're right now doing a little game, and it's your turn. Who you pick? What's your pick on?
I got one more quarterback in that, and they ain't got more at that. Tua or Jared Goff?
See, can I piggyback on this? Because I actually had I didn't have Tua, but I had Jared Goff in one of my pick ones. So I'm gonna put an addendum.
I mean, that's normally what we do.
There's Jared Goff, and I'm gonna throw in Kirk Cousins in that same kind of line. I was picking Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff together because neither one of them I think is really good, but they both have really good wide receivers. I think Tua's better than both of them, and he has super good wide receivers. So my choice between all three of them would be Tua. I think Tua's the one I pick out of the three of those all together. But mainly because I get Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
I mean, yeah, that's like we said earlier. Do you get the quarterback or do you get the quarterback?
Right.
But
I go to the parts. In fact, for all three of them, I'm going for the parts because I'm not picking Jared. I've seen Jared Goff in with the Rams. I've seen Kirk Cousins be Kirk Cousins. I'm picking all three of those guys based off their wide receivers, and Tua has the best parts.
Well, I'm doing Tua. I would do the parts in the quarterback if you're asking me. So yeah, man, Tua, Goff, Kirk Cousins. I'm gonna say Tua, and the reason I say Tua, if you go back and you look at Tua's week-to-week numbers, oh my gosh, they're so much better than Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff.
Yeah,
for real. Like, I mean, so much better. Like, I did, so in my homework, I calculated some numbers, obviously. Tua would have finished with 5,000 yards last year. If you go, no, listen, hear me out.
Oh, I'm all with you.
So, if you look at, Tua finished with 35, was it 35, something like that? I want to say 35.
Have our producer look it up. The exact numbers. But yeah, something like that.
I want to say 30, a little over, under 35 or around 35. And he missed 4 games because of injury. He left a game because he got hurt. And then I think the Buffalo game, he got hurt but came back in. But he kind of was off a little bit there. His brain wasn't all the way together for some reason because he had that concussion.
Right.
But if you take the numbers and just say, okay, give him 250 a game, right? He had 35, 48, 25 touchdowns. He missed 4 games. He left 2 games. Now, if you give him 250 and say 6 games total, that's around 15, a little 15. So he would have had 5,000 yards and probably 35 to 40 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He would have been a quarterback 1 this year. And if you look at his game log, he averaged the 270, between 250 and 275 most games, and he had more than that some games. Um,
I got 273 yards per game. He
yeah,
had 35, 48,
yeah.
25 touchdowns. And again, that's playing 13 games.
That's playing 13
that's
games.
that's playing 13 games. Yeah.
So I say that to say Tua, he's not gonna go high in most drafts this year, but Tua can be a legit quarterback
He can be a
one
tier
for
one
any
quarterback.
tier one quarterback for anybody.
Yeah, he's a QB1 easily.
He's a QB1 easy. It's just the
Hey,
injuries, but you can't go into the draft thinking he's gonna get hurt. That's your main
yeah.
issue going into the draft. It's Tua gonna get hurt this year. You can't think that. You gotta
You,
say, you know what, I'm running and I feel comfortable with it.
One thing when you're doing your draft, we talked draft strategies before.
Yeah.
All the draft is balancing risk and rewards
Yes.
because every player has some risk associated with it. So you got to balance: is this risk worth the reward? And for
Mm-hmm.
Tua, the risk of his injury is well worth the reward, considering where you're going to get him. Speaking of Tua, guess who has Tua as their backup quarterback?
You do.
I've got Justin Herbert as my starter. I got Tua on the bench. And don't be surprised that some weeks I flip those suckers around and I'm just going to just roll with the hot hand because, yeah, I'm with you. Tua has two of the best wide receivers
Yeah.
in the league. I see JALS joining, what was Jasper Lewis, the senior, also going with Tua, Orlando Lewis with Tua as well. But, yeah, I got Tua. I got Justin Herbert. Y'all don't even want to know my list of wide receivers. My wide receivers in this league that we draft tonight is just deadly. I just tell you, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins. I got Jalen Waddle as my third. I need Shaq. I need a third man. I got Hall of Famer Mike Evans sitting on the bench. I did the no running back strategy on our mock show last week. I did pretty much that exact same thing.
Yeah.
I had Saquon Barkley as a keeper for that league, but other than that, I didn't pick up another running back till late in the draft. And I'm loving this squad that I've got together. So y'all better be ready for it. Hey, welcome Cameron B to the show.
What's going on?
You got a question? Is it a terrible idea to take Joe Burrow in round 1, 16 team full PPR? Thanks for the question. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe. We appreciate your question. Appreciate you joining with us. What do you think?
So I got one question for you first before I answer that. I need to know the point system.
Right.
Is it a point every 10 yards? Is it a point every 25 yards?
Every 20.
Yeah,
what kind of points do you get for
what's the
touchdowns?
points? Yeah, is it 4 points or 6 points?
We've been talking draft strategies, and the number one draft strategy is know your league settings, and so it's gonna matter a lot. In general, for your standard type PPR league, I would say first round for me is a bit early on Joe Burrow. I catch him in the second round.
Yeah.
At the highest. For me, I have Joe Burrow as my third quarterback, but I can see him as my second. I go back and forth.
Now,
After
also,
Patrick Mahomes,
what's he picking at? What?
Yeah,
If you know your draft
if you know already
pick,
where you're
please
picking,
let me know.
that's another.
If you know your draft pick.
But for me, I think Joe Burrow is either the second or third quarterback off the board. Depending on how your league is set up, if you could say maybe a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts in there, depending on how the league is set up. But for me personally, Joe Burrow is no worse than top 5 quarterbacks, no matter what the format is.
Yeah,
I still think first round, especially for a 16 team league, might be a tad bit early. I play in a 16 team league, and I don't typically go quarterback in that league until around the third round. Because with 16 teams, you better be really tight on your skill positions. And so for my 16 team league, I would say it's not a terrible idea if you get the guy you want, but for me, it's too early.
I mean, to me, it depends on the settings.
Yeah.
If you're telling me a point every 10 yards per completion, or you get a point per completion, a point every 10 yards, things of that nature, you get bonuses, then yes, I say go Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. And also depends on where you drafted at too. So if you know you're not going to get him on a wraparound or in that third round for some reason, I say yes. But, you need more context as far as rules and points and all that stuff. But Joe Burrow for me is easily, if I had to do like an order of quarterbacks, is Mahomes, Herbert, Allen, Burrow in that
Mm.
order for me. So definitely Burrow is definitely high on my list. But I just need to know where you 4 points per yard, four
Yeah,
points
so
is
it's more the
standard.
standard kind
Yeah.
of point system. For me, yeah, that's too early.
That's too high. I would go your probably high receiver, high running back. Now I would probably go high receiver because
Yeah.
nowadays receivers get the receptions, the yards, the touchdowns, things of that nature. Unless you're trying to go McCaffrey or Eckler
You better be
or
at the top.
yeah, one of those guys. But I would definitely go receiver first.
Yeah,
I,
I'd say this: if look at what, and another one of our points we made earlier was to look at what your draft board looks like. And so if you are in that first round and you see people making a lot of moves towards quarterbacks, then maybe if I'm towards the back end, I might throw in the Joe Burrow in the first round. Like if for some reason in your 16 team league you see, because every league is different, even with the same settings, each league is a little bit different. So if you see like Mahomes and Josh Allen go off the board in the first round, maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe it's worth it if I'm towards the end. But if I'm early or anywhere mid to early in a 16-team league, I wait for the wraparound and maybe grab them in the second round. But thanks for the question again. We really appreciate it. You got whose pick one is it? Who are we on?
It's yours.
And good luck to you, Cameron, in their draft. I wish you the best.
Yeah. Like and subscribe to, man. Tell your friends.
I'm gonna throw out a player that you mentioned earlier, and I fought myself on this. I told you one I fought with on my keeper, so I won't do that one on the show. Okay. But another one I battled with today was, should I go Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson? For the both Commanders running backs are available around the same spot, and in tonight's draft, I was looking at both of them. And I was like, which way should I go? I tell you which way I went afterwards.
I'm going Gibson because it goes back to what I said earlier about touches.
Yeah.
Gibson is going to touch the ball probably in a couple of different ways. Receiving out of the backfield, probably kick return, punt return. He's going to be used in different phases of the game plan. So I think now with Brian Robinson, he's definitely going to get first, second down. He's probably gonna come out on third down because he can't catch.
He's not a big. He's not a big catch out the backfield guy.
Yeah, so he's probably gonna come out on third down. So that limits him a little bit.
Yeah.
From producing anything. I'm going Gibson because Gibson throughout a game is probably gonna give you more points just because of everything else he's doing.
I tell you the truth. I was thinking Gibson, but when it came down to it, I ended up going Bijan. I'm on a whole nother player. Bijan Robinson. Yes, definitely Bijan Robinson over Antonio. No, I went Brian Robinson over Antonio Gibson. Yeah. And my logic was, I think, I'm with you. I think Antonio Gibson, we talked about this last year. I think Antonio Gibson is super talented, and I don't know why they don't use him more. But I get the impression that, and my mom also said Gibson. I get the impression though that Brian Robinson is going to have the opportunity to really be the lead back for this Commanders team, and I think touchdowns when we get to the red zone, he's going to get that opportunity. So I decided to go with passing yards that I would get from Antonio Gibson, and like you said, working him into the offense whatever possible, versus Brian Robinson, who I picked up strictly because, like, okay, if they're going to smash the ball in, they're going to probably smash it in with Brian Robinson. Welcome, Shaq. The third man is finally here at the end of the show. I wanted you here earlier. I had a draft today, and I have Hall of Famer Mike Evans on my squad, so I was going to try to get your opinion on that. So, yeah, it should. Oh, you were just finishing the draft too. 16 teams. Ooh.
Yeah.
90 seconds per pick. Yeah, that's long. That's long. But yeah, we did I had a draft tonight. But I got your boy Mike Evans, and he's like my receiver on my bench. So I'm really happy with that squad.
Yeah.
So, but welcome. Glad you got able to join us. What we got here? Also a vote for Gibson, so I'm in the minority there. And he just she's trying to work trades.
They working trades through the chat.
I see Shaq drafted Mike Evans too. Hey, I
That's
saw
funny.
him sitting there. I've never in my life been able to draft Mike Evans as low as I was able to draft Mike Evans this year.
Yeah.
And so I saw him there. I was like, "Oh, you crazy if y'all don't pick him up." So, yo, I'm rolling with it. So I hope for. I saw Baker Mayfield has been officially named the starter.
Oh right.
We'll see how it goes, but he's Mike Evans. I figure he's gonna be good no matter what.
Yeah.
It's your turn. What you got?
We got a question, I think.
Oh, we got another. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Will Hayes, welcome to. You saw it before I did. Should you pick? Keep Dalvin Cook first round pick, Keenan Allen third round, Miles Sanders sixth round pick, or Mike Evans? Hayes, there we go, Mike Evans again. Fourth round. We got the biggest Mike Evans fan here, Shaquem joining us. You got pick 2. He's starting 12th PPR 12 team. I don't think I would keep Dalvin Cook for a first round pick. I don't think he's worth that this year.
I'm keeping Mike Evans.
That's
Dalvin's not worth a first this year. Even Keenan Allen's not worth a third, in my opinion.
If you're telling me Keenan Allen healthy all year, I say he's worth a third. But I would rather go with you. I'd rather go Mike Evans fourth because I think I'll get similar numbers and a lower pick.
I think Miles Sanders, he irks my spirits sometimes, man. Jeez, man. Miles Sanders, he said last year, don't draft me in fantasy. And then
he was a stud.
I just don't understand it. But I'm going to say Miles Sanders, and I'll say Mike Evans. I feel like you can get picking second. I'm picking 12 PPR. I feel like you can get a better receiver at the moment, better than Keenan Allen, to be honest with you. And I feel like the Dalvin Cook situation is a little bit messy for me because he's splitting time, and I don't think he's going to be as productive because I think that splitting time is going to be crazy. I think Mike Evans is the best receiver on that team. And Miles Sanders is the starting running back on Carolina. So I think you roll with those two, and I think you'll be all right for real. I think you can get another receiver, though, to be honest with you.
And that's the main thing I get when you're doing a keeper like that, where there's a penalty for keeping a player, depending on the round. You got to say, okay, what can I get as an alternative, or can I get the same player back? I think you have a shot at getting Keenan Allen back. In those first 3 rounds, if you need to.
I think so too.
And I was just talking Mike Evans. I got Mike Evans late in the draft I did today. But if you ask me which one's gonna have the better season this year, I think Keenan Allen's getting up there. Where and not that Mike Evans is young, but I think that this, as Shaq said, Mike Evans doesn't miss games. Shaq was telling us last week, and it is pretty much mostly true. He if he misses more than 2 games, wow, something bad must have happened. Keenan Allen, he can miss a whole half a season.
That is true.
We've seen it. So for me, I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm going definitely Mike Evans. Because I think Dalvin Cook you can get later because he's going to be in, like you said, in a time. Unless I know before my draft that Breece Hall is going to miss the first half of the season.
Which I don't think is happening.
But I don't think that's happening.
No.
But that's the only way I think. Dalvin Cook to me is just not worth a first-round pick, and not this Dalvin Cook. 2-3 years ago, Dalvin Cook, 100%. Yeah. But I take my chances on getting a better player in the first round and maybe even getting Dalvin Cook later. Same thing for Keenan Allen. Miles Sanders with you, I'm as frustrated, but it's a 6th-round pick, so I take it. I take Miles Sanders with a 6. I take Mike Evans, and then I try to get other players with my earlier picks. So thanks for the question, much appreciated. Will be sure to hit that like, be sure to hit that subscribe. Shaq's trying to make some trades.
Shaq, I'm with you, Shaq. I'm gonna call my people.
Y'all gonna work something out.
I'm gonna call my people. I like that though. I think him in Tampa would be great for
Yeah,
Mike Evans, for
yeah.
Chris
Mike Evans
Godwin.
should be
Yeah,
solid.
I think he fits their game plan, stretch down the field. But I like it. I'm gonna call my people. I got you. We gonna talk.
What you got?
All right, so I got Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, that's why I made it tough.
That's a really tough one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Tyreek. I think no. I think CeeDee Lamb is really gonna be phenomenal.
Come on.
Tyreek should be the right answer. Time
Be.
has showed us that Tyreek Hill is the man, and he's been that consistently. I already said, I think last week or the week before, I think Tyreek Hill is going to fall back a little bit from where he was last season. I think last year was the first year ever he's been over 1,500 yards. But I can't go against Tyreek. I really want to see CeeDee Lamb with the breakout season. I really want to say CeeDee Lamb with the breakout season and go CeeDee Lamb, but maybe it's just because he plays for the Cowboys. I can't do it. I'm gonna go with the cheetah, like Shaq says. But I really want to say CeeDee Lamb. But I'm gonna say Tyreek Hill. But I really want to say CeeDee Lamb. But I'm gonna say Tyreek Hill.
Whew.
Who you got? We got to vote for CeeDee Lamb in the comments. I really want to say CeeDee Lamb. I really do.
I do too. I do.
I really want to say CeeDee Lamb. But I'm going to go with probability. And I'm going to say Tyreek Hill, final answer. There we go.
I'm going to go, oh gosh, yeah.
That's a really hard one.
It is. Slightly, I'm going Tyreek Hill. Slightly. Not much, though. Not much. I mean, it's bare minimum going Tyreek Hill.
It's so close, I think.
Yes. Bare minimum.
I'll look at it. I see right now CeeDee Lamb average draft position is the 7th wide receiver off the board. Tyreek Hill is the 3rd. So the answer, the people that have spoken is Tyreek Hill. But I really want to say CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a breakout year.
I do too. That's why I did
I
this,
really do.
I
really do. But
I think
but his breakout is dependent on Dak Prescott being, the best Dak possible. And that's where I fall apart thinking
they're closer than people think.
Yeah, they're very close.
They're closer than people think. And they're so close, it's scary. It's just, I think Tyreek Hill is just a little bit, just a tad bit. I mean, it ain't much, man. Oh, my God.
It's close. It's as close as you could get. But
you got to ask yourself the question. If you in the draft right now, both of them sitting on the board, where you going? Where you going, man?
I got to go Tyreek. I got to. Hey, I'm going to pull up my average draft position. Just go with it and say it's got to be right because everyone's doing it. I'm a follower.
Okay.
Yo, question for Shaq. Where do you draft Jonathan Taylor now that he has been, he's been granted a potential trade? We talked about that earlier on whether we think that trade is going to happen. And I posed the question to Rodney because I was drafted in a keeper league and had the choice of keeping Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. I went Saquon because I feel more comfortable with that with his situation right now. But for me, Jonathan Taylor was first round top 3 running back guy for me. He's fallen to no earlier than a late second.
Yeah.
To me, late second.
I mean,
it's just so much risk.
He's probably the 5th, 6th running back off the board now. I mean, you got.
I tell you, we talked about a Bijan Robinson. I might be convinced to pick a Bijan over JT. That situation is just so bad. Right now.
That may be the case.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what team he's going to.
I don't know if he's going to sit out. I don't know. I need more clarification.
He's not. Let me tell you something. He's not hurt.
There's
nothing wrong with him.
I know
he's sitting out because he want to be paid. Again, I think at the end of the day, once he gets straight, it's just where he go. If he goes somewhere like Buffalo, no, you don't do that. You let him because they're gonna have to change their whole game plan for him. So no, now if you go somewhere like Miami, I
Yeah.
mean maybe that could work for you. Um, it's just I don't know. It's strange. Now, like he said, on the come around and he's
On the
still
son,
there.
you got him in a second. I'm not mad at that.
I mean, you got to do it. You gotta put
Yeah.
because you can put him on the bench until he's right, and then you can and put him in the lineup with Saquon. I mean, that's just lovely. But
Like
I
I
like
said,
that.
yeah, I said earlier on the keeper, I chose Saquon over Jonathan Taylor, but I was hoping to get Jonathan Taylor back.
Yeah.
He didn't come back to me, but I was hoping to still pick him up because if he plays, and I think it'll be more so when he plays, he should have a phenomenal year, whether he's in Indianapolis or somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just that if it's too iffy for me right
Yeah,
now
that's iffy for
to
me.
pick him any higher than the second round, and it's just too much for me right now. And hey, I'm all zero running back this year, so for me, maybe even the second round is too early because hey, I'm saying to heck with running backs this year.
Hey.
We got another vote for Tyreek Hill. So final answers.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill's the guy. All right. I got one. It's not gonna be as hard as your CeeDee Lamb Tyreek Hill question, but it is about two wide receivers on the same team, Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk.
Okay, so I had Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to combine this one.
Okay.
So I had Calvin Ridley or T Higgins.
T Higgins all the way for me. They're rate neck and neck on the average draft position.
Okay.
For the two, so I see why you put them together, but I know T Higgins. I've seen T Higgins. T Higgins is a one on any team. Calvin Ridley, we saw as a one before he had his gambling issue, but I don't know if I'm getting that this year.
I mean, you don't know if you're getting that this year, but let's just put that aside, okay, and just say we're gonna get that because when
I get that original Calvin Ridley, I still go T Higgins.
Wow.
Yeah, I go T Higgins because I'm on. I loved Trevor Lawrence this year. We mentioned. I think we both said he should have a breakout, really good QB1 season. But Joe Burrow, we've seen this show already. We've seen Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. We've seen Joe Burrow to T Higgins. We have not seen Trevor Lawrence to Calvin Ridley. And for me, I always go with knowns over unknowns. I said it's about balancing risk versus rewards. Calvin Ridley is the potential for a really big reward, but it's a lot of risk, and I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I would do it, but I'm not doing it over T Higgins.
I'm not mad at that.
I might do it over to Christian Kirk, though.
I'm definitely doing Chris Kirk.
Yeah.
Chris Kirk's not even in the conversation.
Dang.
For me, he's not in the
mean.
conversation. No.
I thought he was at least in the conversation.
Not in conversation. Ridley, T. Higgins, Christian Kirk, not even in the conversation for that. No. But
it was pretty good last year.
Okay. Yeah.
But Calvin Ridley wasn't there.
He wasn't there either. Yeah.
I dig it.
This one might be a little tough for you.
Okay.
Nick Chubb or Tony Pollard?
Tony Pollard. That's not tough for me.
Over Nick Chubb?
I love Tony. I was trying to get Tony Pollard in this draft tonight. I think Tony Pollard could be an Austin Eckler type player in this Dallas offense. And I love me some Nick Chubbs.
I'm going Nick Chubb on this one, man. My only concern with Tony Pollard is this. Can he do it for 17 games?
We gonna find out.
I don't know if he can do it for 17 games. I know Nick Chubb can do it for 17 games. Nick Chubb, and he's going to be in the passing game a lot this year. And he's going to get you at least 1,500 yards. Guarantee that one.
He's Nick Chubb.
He's Nick Chubb. And if he adds anything around 400 to 500 yards receiving, he is literally giving you 19 to 2,000 yards easy for total yards this year. I'm going Nick Chubb all over. I like Tony Pollard, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But I think Nick Chubb is probably hands down better. And
I wouldn't doubt that he's better. And I don't think, I think you're about to say he doesn't have competition. I agree with you. But does the discount matter? Because I'm getting Tony Pollard later in the second, maybe the third round. I'm getting Nick Chubb in the first round. Nick
I
Chubb
think
is
you
a
get him
first
around the
rounder.
same round. I
don't
think
think
you
so.
get him closer than you
I
think.
think they're close, but I think you're getting Tony Pollard at least a
I
one
don't
round
know
difference.
about that because you got to
Yeah.
think Eckler, CMC, Derrick Henry. You got to
Yeah.
think a lot of those guys are going. Bijan is going probably ahead of him. People like Bijan over Nick Chubb. So you got to think Nick
Yeah.
Chubb is probably the sixth running back off the board now, maybe
Fourth.
if that.
He's
Fourth.
the fourth. Tony Pollard's the seventh. They're close. And now apparently I'm losing this horribly in the comment section. Everyone is calling Nick Chubb. no one's buying my discount.
I just don't see it, man. I don't. I think Nick Chubb, because if he adds anything to his passing game, he's a 3-down back now. He's literally a 3-down back now.
No Kareem Hunt there.
No Kareem Hunt. He's a 3-down back, and he's gonna be. Don't be surprised if he finished 1 or 2, and you'll be like, dang, because he's a 3-down back now. He's gonna get all of the touches. Period.
Yeah, he's gonna get all of the touches.
I don't know Tony Pollard. And I like Tony Pollard. I want to say that. I just think Tony Pollard, he's gonna share the load a little bit with somebody. We don't know who it is, but it's gonna be somebody in Dallas where they're gonna be like, okay, we don't want to play him too much or run him too much. Because you got to realize he's coming in as a starter, getting 11 carries last year. He got 11 carries per game last year. So he's going from 11 to 25 carries a game over a 17-game stretch. I got to see it first. Nick Chubb, I ain't got no issues. I know I'm good here.
I know Nick Chubb is going to be solid. I thought people would like the disc. I thought people would like to go in the bargain bin and pull out Nick Chubb a few picks later, but apparently no one's following me with Tony Pollard. Okay.
No, not even. Sorry.
I admit defeat.
Cool. I take that. That.
I'm right.
Okay, whatever. We will see.
Yeah.
All right. I got you.
You got any other ones? I'm out of my.
I got one more.
Okay.
And then I'm done. Alexander Madison.
Nope.
Or Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
No Dalvin Cook. No Dalvin Cook at all.
I don't care. I don't think Alexander Madison's that good. True story. I mean, I don't think he's bad. Don't get me wrong. But I know Aaron Jones is good. And I know Aaron Jones is going to get work in the offense in Green Bay this year.
Okay.
Alexander Madison is okay to me. Here's one I would have had a tougher time with. I didn't pick it as my pick one. Alexander Madison or Khalil Herbert. That one I would have struggled with a little bit more.
Not even. I wouldn't have struggled with that because I would have picked Alexander Madison in a heartbeat because their running back name is Justin Fields.
True.
That's not even a question who the running back is in Chicago. It's like saying Justin Fields versus Lamar Jackson. Yeah, it's a hard one, but the thing is this: you have to say Lamar Jackson is the running back of the Baltimore Ravens.
He is. Just
like Justin Fields, the running back for the Chicago Bears.
He is. We've seen both of them lead their team in rushing. But I can see if we put it back to Khalil. See, people like me now. No one loved me on Tony Pollard, but everyone's going Aaron Jones and Khalil Herbert all the way over your Alexander Madison. I've won the people back over.
Khalil Herbert was there last year, and
Khalil Herbert was there with David Montgomery last year.
Montgomery got hurt also, and Montgomery.
Here's why I go Khalil Herbert. Here's why I go Aaron Jones.
Okay.
In both of those cases, I see those being stronger running teams versus Alexander Madison with the Vikings. I see them running as needed, and I just don't think Alexander Madison gives me. He doesn't give me. Here's your question for you. They were there together the whole time. Was there ever a point when Dalvin Cook was healthy and Alexander Madison got anywhere near the field?
No,
the answer is no. There was he was
right.
irrelevant.
I'll give you that.
I know this because I had Alexander Madison on one of my squads, and unless Dalvin Cook is hurt, Alexander Madison was completely irrelevant. And for me, that tells me Alexander Madison's not that good. Because if you're good, they're going to find a way to get you on the field.
but they got rid of Dalvin Cook for
only because they didn't want to pay him. That was a financial decision. That was not a talent decision.
Went for 1,000 yards last year. Of course.
That was a complete financial decision. It had nothing to do with Dalvin Cook's
That could
talent.
be it. That could be the case. But I'm just saying, they gave him an extra year of contract to make him the man. I think Alexander Madison, because he catches out of the backfield,
Alexander Madison was cheap.
I mean, of course he was cheap. We're not going to say he won't cheat, but he was cheap. Come on.
That's the whole deal with him. We'll see. Alexander Madison is going to have the chance to have the best career of his life, and I still think it's no better than a Deontay Foreman type season. I'm not impressed.
Okay.
Yeah. Not that I'm really super impressed by Khalil Herbert, but I can see Khalil Herbert being a bigger contributor than Alexander Madison would be.
And Shaq, I do agree with you. They do want him to pass, but at the end of the day,
he better pass.
But Justin Fields' first thought after his first read is to run the football. And I like Justin Fields.
He said it already. He's one of the greatest rushing quarterbacks of all times.
Which he shouldn't have said.
Yeah. So
I think he should have kept that to himself. Yeah, because you put yourself you put yourself in a bubble.
Yeah.
That don't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
When he got that back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing, then he should have popped out and said, "I wanted to."
Not even that. You should say, "I want to be a top 5 quarterback, not a running quarterback."
You ain't lying.
Come on, you put yourself in a bubble. Stop. I'm just saying. That's all I got.
All right. Well, hey, next week we'll be back here doing the same thing. This is the last week of preseason, so get ready, guys. It's coming. We're gonna do our bold predictions. Maybe we'll have the third man join us in the studio and give us his bold predictions coming up for the year. So, make sure you
talk about that draft, brother. Let's talk about that draft.
Yeah, he's going to be in one of the drafts you have this weekend, right?
Yes, we just talk about that draft. So, the third man. Come up here and talk about that draft.
Let us know what's up. So, everybody, thanks again for being part of the show. Good luck to everybody with their drafts, whether they're this weekend or next. Keep the strategies in mind. Hey, go back, watch this one again. Tell your friends to go back and watch it with you. Hit like, hit subscribe. Join us next week.
All right.
Peace out, everybody.